here is the pattern. I've written on it now. This is the top. This is the name of it. This is what we need. So we need 2 fashion, 2 lining, 2 interfacing. Interfacing is optional, but it does make it stiffer. This is the base. As you can see, it looks symmetrical. So this is the top part where the zip would go. So we know what the zip looks like. It's same butterfly effect that I usually use or describe to you. So you'll have a zip that goes at the length of this. In one sense, if you use a zip that's slightly longer than this, it's much better. You don't have to mess up with any metal pieces. This is the fabric I'm choosing to use, which is my owls. And as you can see, my owl's direction is going this way. So I've laid my pattern to go on like this, and then I'll have it folded over like this. I am recording with one hand, so it is a bit awkward. And then I'm going to cut out the 2, and they're both going to be in the same direction. If I laid it the other way, yes, I do use Amazon. One, I don't think I have enough fabric, or if I have, it's just off, as you can see here, which is, then I'd make the whole pattern smaller. But I don't want my birds in this direction and the final look, so I'm going for this look. So let me go and cut out these pieces and get back to you. Originally I was going to use this more medium weight, lightweight interfacing for my fabric to attach to this one. I like to attach mine to the fashion fabric. This is the one I'm using as my lining, but I decided to use this as a thicker one. You can see here, as opposed to this one's quite thin. This one's quite lightweight. This one is more fused. This is a fusible interfacing. It's called like a fleece one, so you can't really pick it up, but maybe you can. It's got like bubbly bits on. This is the glue side, this is the smooth side, this is the part that you iron on. So when I do my interfacing, I do like it slightly smaller than my actual size. So to do that, can you see, if I cut it that way, that would be exact. Yes, but if you offset it slightly like that, when you glue it, it's not going to come out onto your piece, as in on your iron. So I'm going to go and cut 2 of these and show you in one moment. So as you can see now, this is the size of my pattern, but the interfacing is actually smaller than it. So what I'm going to do with that now is I'm going to open my front one, and the way that I've cut this, I'll glue it onto this like so, glue it straight away, and then when I cut my pieces, actually I won't be able to do that because this is directional, so I'll cut this in half and lay one that way, one the other, and then cut the pieces. That now looks something like this instead of the way I thought I was going to do it. So that will go on there. I'll cut that piece out, both pieces together, because I'm about to go and iron this onto this so it comes one piece, and then I will cut around my whole piece. So I'll have 2 of these, 2 fashion ones with the interfacing attached, and then I'll go and cut this one out. Okay, so now I have my zip. I chose to have a nice green zip to take parts of the colours of what's in my front. This particular zip on here, we don't measure from here, we measure from this part where the teeth start. I am recording with one hand, so please forgive me. So here, so on my scale on my table, you can see this is classed as an 8-inch zip. Slightly off, but it's not a 7.5, 8-inch zip is absolutely fine. So here, I have to stop saying so. Here is my inner fabric, my lining. The seam allowance is at 1 centimeter, and here is my pattern. This is the front. This is the one with the interfacing. Can you see the interfacing? I've made it slightly smaller. If this was the thinner interfacing, I may have just done it to the edge. This is slightly thicker, so it does impact upon the sewing. So when you are sewing them, because they are directional, I don't want this when I sew my pieces together, because now they look both the same. There's no difference in the top and the bottom when you look at the pieces here. But just remember, if you have direction, that's how you want. So now what you're going to do is we're going to do the butterfly, as we know what the butterfly is in class. We have our zip here, our piece here, our zip, and one piece of fabric. So let's go over that again. So back to back, this is the back of my lining. I don't know how well you can see this. It's got slight like lines inside it, as opposed to the back, which is a little bit duller. Don't know how well the camera is picking that up, but this is the back of my lining, but it's the pretty part that's facing me. Usually before we're using the black, so it didn't matter, but in this instance I'm using fabric, colored fabric. So back of my zip to the back. As you can see, I won't have the issue of trying to fit the zip in or go past that metal piece. So that goes on like so. Then I'm going to take this one, turn it over, match them up as best I can, especially with one hand. And if you are unsure, just take some clips or some pins. Let me just get some clips here. Not that organized. Yeah, clip them together. It's not bad for 100ness. And then open it out to see. And you should see your fashion piece, because how I want it to look like that. So that's how it will look. Okay, I'm going to go and sew the two pieces together. You know already how to do that part, and then we'll get back. I'll get back to you. Don't forget your little V's to match up your pieces. So here's my pieces here. I did forget to do it just now. This one is a little bit harder, but you can see the bigger V here and the bigger V here. So I'll match those all up so it's all nice and even. Sew it, and then I shall be back. I'm at my sewing machine, and I've decided that I'm going to use blue for my top thread and pink for my bottom. Don't know how well you can see that. So the blue, when I sew, is going to be on here, and the pink is here. As you can see, I don't have my zip in the way. And what I'm going to do, I'm using the machine that we have in class, not my more modern one. Nothing wrong with this one. Excuse me. This is my setting, so this is my stitch length that I'm going to use. I'm going to change this from A to B. B takes it to the side. So if you watch here, I'm going to turn the dial and it's moved. Can you see that? So I'm going to use this as my guide against the zipper teeth. I'm not using a zipper foot, but I've moved the position of my needle so it's going to sew closer. Okay, let's see how well I can do this with one hand. I mean, maybe I can see if I can get a stand. As you can see, the zipper, the normal foot is actually bigger than for me to fit behind here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the zip down a little bit just so I can sew past here and catch all that thread. So here I am. I'm going to start sewing, but I'm not going to back stitch until I get to this point, because I don't really need this part to have any back stitch. It's here where it's more relevant. So Can you see I am using the side of the foot to glide along the teeth? And now, then I'm locking in my stitch, and I'm going to go forwards, carrying on, making sure my two pieces are not too far apart. You see that's tolerable. If not, because you'll have two hands, I'm using one hand to record at the same time. Stop. Can you see that the top fabric is slightly pushing on here? This is when you use your hands to guide your work, because what happens is the top fabric moves a little bit more than the one underneath. So what happens is the top fabric nearly always, just ever so slightly, is more forward when you come to the end, and that's just because of the foot that you're using and the way the machine is done. If you use what's called a walking foot, which is another style of foot, that makes it called even feeding. So this is absolutely fine for what we've done. I'm going to stop here, sew all the pieces up, and then get back to you. I'm back. So now you will have your butterfly, and it looks a bit different from what we've done before. And as you can see here, I might go back and actually change this, because these are not aligned, which is important. See it more prominent on this piece. So I'm going to go and unpick it. But whilst I'm here, can you see that the zip is much more not vibrant, but you can see more of the zip, as opposed to I've taught you to sew here. I've done that deliberately because I wanted more of the zip color to show. So you can see here how much is caught underneath, as opposed to if I had done it here. But I am still going to go over this with a top stitch, and so all of that will be caught. I'm just going to go and unpick one of these sides and just match them up a bit better. Okay. So I've unpicked it because I didn't like it, but one thing you do need to be aware of, although you've made your V's to match up your pieces, when you sew, sometimes it shifts forward or differently. So just because your V's might match up, it doesn't necessarily mean the rest of your work will match up exactly. So match your work to each other. So what I mean by that is the fabric to fabric. Again, I'm doing this with one hand. So can you see here, I've matched that up, this one with this one underneath. I'm talking about the color piece, but the V is slightly off. Don't worry about that, as long as this part matches. So here we are. I've top stitched here and here. So whilst the seam allowance is very small, it's been, because we have the top stitch, that gives it additional strength. So now what we're going to do is very much what we've done in class, as in we're going to fold over our fabric, this is my front, this is my back. Remember, we're leaving a gap in the bottom. So in this instance, we're going to sew across here, across here, across here, across here, leave that gap there, but you're going to sew a tiny piece here, tiny piece here, tiny piece here. So we're going to leave the corners alone, and we're not going to sew those. So just as we've done before. So I've sewn up, as you can see. Make sure you go to the edges, please, ladies, and if there's gentlemen watching, gentlemen too. Okay, so the way that we did before with the fish mouth, we just close it up to make our corners. This part I'm going to explain in one moment. So now that when you pin the sides, you can see you're getting your boxy shape because both look like two sort of boxes. So we've got to figure out this piece now because it's a bit confusing. But it's literally the same thing, just that you have a zip in the way. So on this side is much easier. You're going to put that seam into here, like so. Can you see? That's nice and easy. And then you're just going to match the back exactly the same. So you're going to have the seam meeting in the middle, and you're going to just have the two together. So it's exactly the same scenario. Make sure that your seam is going in the same direction. Same at the bottom. You may find they're going the same way, that's fine. So I'm just going to put a clip here on this side, and I'll put another clip here on this side. Like that. This part, this end is easier. Yes. Before you zip up, before you sew up, don't forget to open your zip. Yeah, because this is the last possible moment you can open your zip. And I almost forgot. So now my zip is opened. So this side is the harder one. But you can, if you want to, maybe put a stitch just here, or maybe get a peg just to hold it, like so. I'm angling it here because this is where I can see at the moment. And you can see here, this is where it's more challenging to attach it, but it can be done. So you want to get your zip like here. You don't want to overlap it. Try and get this as best you can. Now here may not match up. We've encountered this before. You do the best that you can. So let's get a pin. I'm just going to put a pin here at this moment. So you notice then, boy, I'm putting the pin upwards instead of across, just to see if I can hold that in place. Doesn't matter how many times you do something, sometimes you find something, a new way to do something. And now you can sort of see that I can be a bit more free-handed, so I can go into the back, pull that out. Hopefully it wasn't caught in the pin, which it was. And then pull that out and do your best to repeat what you did on the other side, like so. And then we're going to sew across all of them. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fish mouths to do. So now I've sewn it all up, and you can see it looks a bit weird. Yeah, we can cut off these pieces, we don't need them. So I'm just going to cut that off, throw that away, cut the other one off. And as we've done with all the other style bags that I've done with you, you're just going to put your hand through. This might be a little small, but I don't really mind. So it might be a bit of a tiny pull. And because I've used thicker interfacing as well, that has an effect. So let me just pull all of this through and I'll show you the end. Okay, so I've pushed out all my corners as best I can. And now can you see how the shape is? Yeah, there's the top, no visible pieces. Just push out the corners a bit more. Yeah, there's your seam that you sewed across, down, there's the bottom. Again, I haven't really pressed this, or just roll out my corners. So this is one way to make this style box. See underneath, so my birds are going in the direction that I wanted them. this stands up that little bit more. Different angle. There we are. Can you see? Little pouch inside. I just have to sew up the inside, and that's done.